Oslo was struck by a very powerful car bomb that went next to the Prime Minister's office. 8 people were killed immediately and hundreds were killed. Panic struck Norwegians trying to figure out why they have been attacked, why they have been added to the long list. It must be Islamic jihadists. They researched, they found that Norway has been contributing troops to the NATO war effect. They found that the Muslim community of Norway had not been properly integrated to the society. They also found that just a week before, a Muslim preacher had been indicted for his incitement while the country was still trying to make sense of this fog of war. There was another attack, a simultaneous attack that happened in a school summer camp where more than 69 people were shot dead, including personal friends of the Prime Minister, some members of the royal family. And of course, a name starting popping up. This had to be a jihadist attack. Responsibilities, some Al Qaeda name starting popping up. But ironically, it was none of that. This entire terror attack was the handiwork of one man, whose name was Anders Breivik, and he was a Norwegian, and he hated Muslims, and he was actually protesting against the multiculturalist policies of the Norwegian government. My second story is about this man. He goes by the name of Salim Durrani. He has many names. He operated in the valley for about 10 years. He used to move in and out. The fences and the boundaries were never a problem for him. He has a prize on his head when he operated in the valley. And he has been personally responsible for the close to 2 to 3 dozen young men. He is also a devout Muslim. He prays 5 times a day. He has his AK-47 next to him like a true warrior. Each time he prays wherever he sleeps, never sleeps in the same place twice, not for 2 nights in a row. Salim Durrani is Mike Smith from the Indian Army. This is a picture of him when he was major serving in the valley. Between him, his father, and his grandfather, 3 generations, they have contributed 8 uniformed services officers into the Indian Armed Forces. And between them, they hold 6 gallantry awards and 2 commendation cards. The young lad that you see sitting on the left is Salim's son, who is now planning to join the Indian Military Academy and continue the family tradition for the fourth generation, who's to service this country. Now, when I told you these two stories, your mind instantly left to a judgment that was wrong. You thought of Salim Durrani when I began as a terrorist, AK-47 Valley, and your mind jumps to a conclusion which was wrong. We do that very often. We take information that is coming to our brain and we stereotype it. Why do we do that? Because we are broken people, we are bad people. It turns out we do it because we are just people. Our brains are just evolving over millions of years of evolution. And it's incapable of dealing with all inputs that come to our brain in every second. So our mind filters them out in some sort of pattern and absorbs those patterns and jumps to a conclusion. Let me give you a few examples. For instance, until I say these sentences to you, you are unaware of the feeling of your touch of your thighs on your seat, or the arm on your armrest, or the faint hum of the air conditioner in the auditorium. But the moment I say these sentences, those information were out there in your brain, jumps to judgment. But until then, those sensations were coming into your brain and were being filtered out. And that's the way our brain works. It takes 2 to 3 pieces of data and quickly jumps to a conclusion. Let me give a few examples. Try to solve this a math puzzle. Suppose there is a racket and ball, which together cost 110 rupees. 100 racket and ball. The racket cost 100 rupees more than the ball. The racket cost 100 rupees more than the ball. What is the price of the ball? Now all of us who got it as 10 just witnessed a way in which our brain takes information and jumps to the wrong conclusion. The answer is 5. The price of the ball is 5. The price of the racket is 105. That is why the racket is 100 rupees more than the ball. But you had 110, 100 and you jumps to a wrong conclusion that the price of the ball would probably be 10. Now the second feature of our stereotypical thinking is that we usually think of the worst case scenarios. That is why Salim Durrani is a terrorist, not among the thousands of Muslim officers and soldiers who serve in the Indian Armed Forces. And why do we do that? Why do we always gravitate toward the worst case scenarios? Now, answer for that is also immune evolution of brain. Now, suppose we went back to history, we were still evolving, and there were these two tribes, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 consist of brave, fearless warriors, and they would see a mammoth and they say, I would take on this mammoth by myself. And they come to a chasm and they say, I run and flap my wings and get across. They would see a bright fruit and they say, I bite into it and forget about the consequences. And the type 2 said, when they saw mammoth, they say, I cannot take on this mammoth by myself, so my son need to go and take more people. And when they come to a chasm, they decided to go all the way to the other way. And they saw this bright fruit, but say, I will stick to my boring banana. Whose descendant do you think we are? Tribe 1 or tribe 2? Tribe 1 didn't have descendants. They died. So two elements which jumps to judgment and judgments are always toward the worst case scenarios. And third problem is that with the wrong judgment is that we also change physiologically. Our mind changes the way we behave. Biologically changes. Let me show that with another example. How many of you seen the movie Black? It was a sad movie. How many of you cried during the movie? Why did you cry? Amitabh Bachchan is making tons of money. Rani Mukherjee is not blind. This is all happening in the screen. None of it is true. But we still cry because our rebellion brain didn't realize the difference between the fact and fiction. We changes starting physiologically taking decision in this emotional state of mind. So those of you who didn't see the movie Black or were too much during not to cry during the movie, I want you to visualize one more example. I want you to visualize that I'm asking you to open your mouth. Don't open your mouth. Just visualize. I'm asking you to open your mouth and stick out your tongue. Now your tongue is stuck out, your mouth is open. I've got a lemon in my hand and I'm squeezing that lemon on the tip of your tongue and that juice is going down. Why are you salivating? There is no lemon in my hand. There is nothing in my hand. But again, our reptilian brain didn't know that when you hear these words, lemon, lime going, you can stop salivating. Because physiologically our body changes the way we perform, we behave, we take decisions. We now now salivating on the imaginary lemon may be harmless, but stereotypes can be very dangerous. People get lynched by mobs because they believe that they've eaten the wrong type of meat. Communal riots break out based on the false WhatsApp messages, photoshopped images. Countries go to war because they believe that another country has got weapons of mass destruction. Countries leave alliances that they've been part of decades that they believe that immigrants are coming and stealing their jobs, which is incorrect information. We start looking at every stranger with suspicion and we think that anything is different from us has to be dangerous. We start believing that anyone who is not with us is by definition against us. One of the founding principles of our country is the core value of tolerance. And tolerance, like wisdom, is the ability to hold two contrarian ideas within the same mind and evaluate each one on merit before coming to a conclusive judgment. Before this talk, I was researching on the working of the brain, on stereotyping, and I found many books. But I was hard pressed to find a book that would tell me how do we deal with this problem. What is the framework that will help us to recognize this thread of parochialism and divisiveness? Because if we start believing that anyone who is not with us is against us, then we will start creating a society in where everything is connected to each other, which is extremely divisive. And finally, I found a book from which I want to read out a passage for you. The fundamental duties of the citizens of India, Article 51A. It shall be the duty of every citizen to promote harmony and spirit of brotherhood amongst all people of India, transcending religion, linguistic, regional, or sectional diversity. Now, this book, as many of you guessed, is the Constitution of India. Is that book which is holier than every holy book, on which every soldier, every politician, every bureaucrat, every citizen of India swears his allegiance. We have been taught to stand up in attention whenever the national anthem is unfurled. We teach that to our kids. We have been taught to stand up and being attention whenever the national anthem is played, and we teach that to our kids. I think it's also time for us to sit down and start studying the fundamentals which are being represented by that flag and by national anthem. Because as the saying goes, whenever you're struggling for a new idea, sometimes it's a good idea to read an old book.